What's holding space for you?
Holding space. The beginning of what I used to hear it all the time. I still do, but it was more like during breath work and holding space. And people say holding space, and I'm just like, well, is this like a guide? Is that what you do? Like whoever has it, like guides you through breath work. But anymore, it's just like being. I think it's being there for somebody, being potentially emotionally stable for somebody that isn't. Right? I've had like we talked about breakdowns lately, emotional breakdowns, or not emotional but anxiety, you know, where I just needed somebody to be there and listen and hear me out. A lot of times though, I figure my own shit out, but it's just somebody being there or asking questions, potentially being curious,
Yeah.
not offering solutions but just being curious. So just somebody providing a safe space for us to be able to be ourselves, vent, and and come up with our own solutions. This, I truly believe we all have the answers to our issues, to our problems, or to our questions within us. So it's just somebody that's curious, somebody that's asking the right questions, somebody that or wrong questions, just curious.
I think you put off a really good energy to hold space for people. What would some advice be for somebody that is kind of learning how to hold space for somebody else?
I think a lot of it just when you care for people, man, somebody that whenever you care for that other person, then you're able to just be there. There's been several times in our group where people just have issues, right? Or something comes up, or even in the tribe, or even outside of that, where someone just, mostly people I care about, just has an issue, and I just, like I said, I'm curious about it. Try not to offer solutions, but just like, hey, what would you do in a different scenario, or who is somebody you admire? What would you think they would do? I learned that we have the solutions within, right? And so the more you can help people or guide them to that solution, and that's what everybody that's what breathwork facilitators do. They don't give you the answer; they just provide a way there.
Yeah,
In
the group, we've done a lot of breath work, mindfulness practices. I think Jimmy's done an amazing job of just creating and holding a space for us to grow. When do you think the most impactful time for you on one of the lotuses was?
Oh, bro, I have this when we went to Phoenix, that breathwork session was pretty cool, pretty good. But even outside of breathwork, I think a lot of it has come to creating that safe space that we've built, that he's built within Watt, and that we all contribute to. A lot of it has come in many masterminds. I was thinking this morning, actually, because even, how we get assigned accountability groups and gratitude groups. Well, we've created some groups that are outside of that within some guys, where it has become more of a mini mastermind. And I think that's truly what holding space is, being able to be a safe space for somebody. I'll tell you something interesting that happened during the cruise. That was supposed to be it was free time all the time. It's not like there was an itinerary that Jimmy had for us to follow, but he did want to do one thing together. I think he wanted to do a mini mastermind, the second day, the full day at sea, just for a couple hours. And so we were supposed to get together in a room. And I can't remember who, it was Jimmy probably said, oh yeah, we're probably going to do a mini mastermind or something like that. So yeah, just meet there at such time and bring your wives and whatever. So when I tell my wife, I'm like, yeah, we're going to go and do a mini mastermind. And she's like, wait, you mean you bring a problem and you tell everybody what's going on and what your problem is, and then people give you feedback? Yeah. I don't know if I want to do that. And then come to find out that a lot of the other wives didn't either.
Yeah.
And I was thinking it's so cool how we feel so safe that to us mini mastermind is just oh cool, yeah, we're doing this, right? And for anyone outside of Watt, it's not. It's hey, my walls are up. I don't trust you. I don't know you. Sure. Why would I? And so I only say that because holding space is a big part of that, right? It's providing that safety for somebody to not feel judged, for somebody to know that truly anything that comes out of love, right? It comes out of respect for the other person. It's not like you're trying to tell them that they're screwing up or anything. It's just hey, it's a safe space to talk, and we're going to help you, and you're going to decide whatever you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that most people that are outside of the program don't get to experience that, like you said. And whether it's wives or, just other men, I don't think we realize how much we do need other men in our lives that could be, either role models or peers or examples, because I think one of the greatest things that the group has done is it has brought together the fullness of what like a man looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's throughout each and every individual in the group. And so it's like you have like these 50 men, and like if you take just like a piece out of every single one of them, you have like this whole masculine man.
Yeah.
And like you also have this man that can express his feminine as well,
Yeah.
you know, without judgment. And it's amazing. And so like I think that like holding space and like what the group has done for us is to be able to just like really be a mirror for us. Like we were talking about mirrors earlier, and just like mirrors in every single person, that's like, what does this person have that I might be able to learn from them or something like that? Who would you say is somebody that like you've learned a lot from in the group?
Dude, there's a lot. Every single person in the group. Geez, I can't just put something. I mean, there's been some more impactful than others. I mean, Dan is a huge one.
Yeah.
Dan Dunn, Sai, Jeff Hammond for me, Mauricio, Robbie. I'm pretty close with them.
Yeah.
Greg's been pretty good, pretty impactful in my life. Just everybody, man.
I think like out of the masses, like what do you think the most important thing that they've taught you is?
I think just that, right? Just being, just holding space. I don't know if they've, I mean, yes, I've learned a lot of things, and I can't pinpoint one main thing, but I think the main thing for me is that it's that unconditional love, because a lot of times I felt like I have no value to bring to them, but I still feel like they're willing to listen, they're willing to hear me out, and not just the guys I mentioned, like it goes beyond that, right? Just being proud of me for no specific reason, right?
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with ChatGPT this morning, and that's a norm for me. I talk to it all the time, and one of the things was like, well, how do I attain unconditional love, right? Because I feel like a lot of times, I mean, we need love too, right? It's a human need, and I was having this conversation because I have my dad never attained that, or has never. I don't even strive for it. He was like, he's a very loving guy in the sense of like he'll give everything. He'll give everything for other people, for those he loves, I should say. But at the same time, there's expectations, right? And that's where I struggle, right? Like, oh, I can't do something that he needs me to do, and immediately I know he feels unloved. He feels like I'm not reciprocating that love for him.
Yeah.
And so, to me, it feels unfair on one side, because I love him, and he's just not feeling the love that I'm giving back. So I was asking ChatGPT, like, how do I attain unconditional love? Because I feel like true success for me would be able to just love everybody regardless of who they are, regardless of if I feel love back from them. Because the way that I feel love doesn't necessarily mean it's the way that everyone else is giving it to me.
Do you think that you struggle with that now?
Yes, a lot.
And is it feeling or is it giving out?
I feel like I'm a very loving person. I just feel sometimes I feel like I'm not, like that love is not reciprocated. And the only reason, I figured out why. The only reason is because we all expect love the way we're given. We all have love languages, right? Like I love telling people, building people up. I love telling people that they're badasses. I love, like highlighting their what do you call them? The good things in them,
Yes.
their attributes. Yeah. And for example, if I send somebody a text and tell them, like my kids, for example, hey guys, I love you. You guys are badasses. Go kill it today.
Yeah.
And then they don't respond. And then I'm like, shit. Right? I have that feeling like, I'm not important in their life. They're not responding. But that doesn't mean that. It's just the story I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
Right? My son shows love in a completely different way. He jokes around with me. He makes fun of me. Like, and that's how he shows his love. But to me, because I'm not receiving it the way I want it, I sometimes label it as there's no love from the other side. So I guess my question this morning was like, how do I get to the point where I can just give unconditional love without any expectations? And it's the answer is I had it already. I just didn't think of it. The answer that ChatGPT said is you get there by loving yourself the most, right? When you love yourself and your cup is full, whatever comes is received, and it's fine.
Yes.
However it comes, you know what I mean?
And I think that when we look at the definition of unconditional love, we could the easiest place to go is to like religion or God, or if we go into the Bible, we look at like agape, which is like the godly love. It's unconditional love. And so
Jesus Christ is the best example of that.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. And so you know, like, why did they do those things? You know, like, what do they get back in return? What if it was nothing?
Yeah.
What, like,
Well,
and
think about it. Like, where do, I mean, obviously the Bible is a snippet of Jesus' life, right? Or the New Testament is a snippet of Jesus' life. But I can't imagine reading a scripture that says, and Jesus felt bad because the other people didn't give him bread and fish like he did to them, right? Like,
why do you think that is, though?
well, because he's the ultimate example of unconditional love.
Do you think it's because
like,
why do you think that he didn't feel like he needed something in return?
I think his level of self-love and awareness of who he was so high that it's not that he didn't need to be loved, but he understood that people loved him in their own way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so, like, what examples, like, do you look at when you look at that and see that, like, Jesus had an unconditional amount of self-love, and that was why
I just came up with that right now, actually. I like it just dawned on me, like, because we're talking about Jesus, and it just dawned on me that, like, he must have, right?
Yeah.
His upbringing, there's not a lot of, you know, there's not a lot said about his upbringing, but he must have had pretty killer parents, you know, that built him up, that made him understand, you know, who he really was, that made him believe in himself, love himself. That's huge. Yeah. Which in a way saddens me because my kids are older and I wish I would have done better, but it's always a good time to start, right?
How do you think you teach your kids that?
Just reiterating to them that who they are is exactly where they need to be, right? Like, to not listen to the outside world, and that's hard because I don't know how to do that. Right? I'm pretty good friends with James Lawrence, Iron Cowboy. Yeah. He came and spoke at the whatever network event. We went to dinner with him and his double date this week, and I told him, like, I'm like, dude, I know that you speak about all the accomplishments and how people can be resilient and mindset and all this, but I think your biggest achievement is the family you're raising. And I just said, like, wish you would speak more on that. And obviously there's people are more drawn to you know, physical feats and mindset and stuff like that. That's a lot of what pays the bills, if you will. Yeah. But I feel like for me, that's a really good example of that. They did that. If you talk to any one of his kids, they believe in themselves. They know that regardless of what the outside world says, they can do whatever they set their mind to, you know? Yeah. And so it's a lot has to do with believing in yourself, and your kids naturally see that.
Like, looking at that, the example, I would almost argue that it's not maybe what he has said to his kids, but instead, like, the achievements that he's accomplished with 50 Ironmans, 50 states, and then he did like
100 later on.
Yeah, that's
and if you talk to and those are like published, just big feats, right? Sure. But if you talk to his wife too, it's like the type of mentality of, like, oh yeah, I can get that done. I'm going to support this and I'm going to do that. And, like, kids definitely learn more and take more in from what they're watching than when they're listening to, or hearing. Like, I'm I can preach all day to my kids and they don't give a crap. Yeah. You know,
goes right in one ear, right out the other.
It was easier when they were younger. My youngest is 11 now, and he's starting to get to the point that he's just like, Dad, you're full of shit, right? And my oldest too, they 100% know that I'm full of shit. But it's a lot more what they see, right?
Sure. So since you've joined WAT, what are some things that you've changed or implemented for your kids to see, to, like, inspire them to be like?
I tried to implement some daily practices like gratitude, but it's hard because I don't always do it in front of them, right? But I tried to be to show as much gratitude as possible. I do believe that this didn't happen just because of WAD, but it kind of amplified it. But I think showing affection, like affection to my wife, at all times, even if they're in front of them, even if it's embarrassing to them, like, I think that's been one of the things that I've really pushed to, so they can see, like I don't hide it. Like, they know that we fight, but at the same time, they know that I love their mom more than anything, right? Yes. They know that I'm willing to do anything for her. They know that I'm trying. And that's another thing that when it was after Moab that we were challenged to come into full integrity with ourselves, right? Yeah. And I did that. And I did that with my wife, but I saw each one of my kids on one-on-one, and I told them, hey, dude, this is what your dad is. Like, I'm going to show you everything. This is everything that I feel ashamed of. This is everything that I've been keeping from your mom, from you. I told him, like, at times I felt that this exposed me, but I straight up told him, like, there's times that I've manipulated you into doing things that you didn't want to do or that I didn't want to do.
Sure.
And that's not okay, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, I feel like they know I'm honest and that I'm trying every day to live in full integrity.
I think that's an amazing lesson that, like, if they took away anything, like, you know, what would it be? And like, I think integrity is like one of them that's up there.
I mean, it's kind of like a double-edged sword because now they'll call me on my shit, right?
Yeah.
Which before they're probably afraid of.
Sure.
But now they're like, hey, dude, aren't you supposed to be doing this? And part of me gets upset because it triggers me. But then ultimately, at the end of the day, it's just like, sorry, you know, you're right. It shouldn't be.
I was going to ask, like, how do you receive that when they like do?
Oh, it's gotten better.
Was that, do you think that was different like before versus now? Like it was like no talking back or no like
absolutely.
saying that. Okay.
I was untouchable, dude. Like,
sure.
Yeah, that's disrespectful, especially because of our Latin culture, right? Like, oh, you don't talk to your parents that way, right? Now, there's still a level of that I need to hold because, like, for example, I don't like when my kids raise their voice to my wife, and I don't give a shit if she's right or wrong. Sure. I step in and, like, you know, you're not going to talk to your mom that way. Yeah. Right? There's a way to have a conversation, and if you're not okay, then you better step away and come back when you're good.
Yes.
But I feel like they for the most part feel pretty free to come and tell me, like, maybe they don't feel as safe at times to come and tell me what's going on in their life, but they know, like, I mean, the way I receive a lot of the stuff, especially that they're doing, is completely different. Like my son coming, if he was to come and tell me, I don't know, that he's watched porn or whatever, something like that. Before it was like, even if I was doing it, I would be like, hey, you know, we're not supposed to be doing this. Yeah. I'm going to ground you, blah, blah, blah. And now it's more like, hey, dude, I know where you're coming from, right? Like, how do you feel? Like, be curious, right? Like I said, just trying to hold space. Yeah. Well, I mean, is it something you want to stop? Because that's pretty important too. Like, going back to like, you know, using weed or whatever, right? Yeah. Like, yeah, it might be a struggle, but people aren't ready to change until they're ready to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And so they might know they want to, or they might know they should, but if they're not ready, they're not ready. I mean, how many people want to know they should join what, but they don't? Sure. Yeah. Right? For whatever reason, because they're convinced.
I think people get comfortable, or they they feel like something is serving a purpose and it's not, or they can't wrap their mind around, like, why would I not do this, you know? And so, or why would I do this? Yeah.
Well, we see it in the group, and it's natural, right? We see it in the group quite a bit. I think there's some of us that have brought to these mini masterminds that we keep having every 3 months the same issue.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We see some people like, and I'm one of them, like, hey, dude, didn't we talk about this before? And people probably know me like, oh, is he going to talk about his relationship again or whatever, right? But it's fine because I feel that even though I do feel that everybody's is making strides in that situation, in their own situation, sometimes you're not ready to change. Sometimes change is more scary than not, right? And you have to have the courage to do so.
So explaining that, like, I guess going a little deeper, like, why do you think people get caught in that loop of like, hey, I have this problem. I know that there's something I could do about it, but I'm like comfortable right here. Like, why do you think people get caught in that loop to where like they know they want something to change, but they don't do anything about it?
Well, comfort is a big part of it, right? I heard once, I can't remember who told, my mom maybe told me this, that when the pain of change becomes less than the pain of keeping the problem, that's when we'll be ready to change, right? Mm. And a lot of times it takes rock bottom, right? That's why a lot of people have their rock bottom stories, right? Like, hit rock bottom and I became great after that. Sure. Right. Well, because the problem got to the point where the solution was less painful. Yeah. Right. So I think that there's a big part of that. On top of it, I think it's just fear of the unknown, fear of what could happen, what could be on the other side, right? Fear of accepting, fear of change.
Yeah. Absolutely. Pivoting a little bit, growing up in the church and then recently not being in the church anymore, what was that transition like for you? Like, what made you come to that conclusion? And then also, how do you think it has affected the way that you choose to like parent to your kids now?
I've been questioning for a very long time. There was a lot of things that didn't fit right for me. So it wasn't necessarily about leaving the church for me. It was religion in general didn't make sense, right? Again, I was under the impression that there was a God that I had to earn, whose love I had to earn.
Sure.
There's a God that I was only accepted. What I did wasn't enough, so I had to have a supplement or someone come in and fill the rest, right? And that didn't sit with me very well. That was the main part of it, right? The other part of it is that I've always been lazy, for lack of better words, in thinking and in discovering things. I would take people's word, like, oh, hey, you know what? So-and-so said this. So much so that at one point it was like, even growing up, like, oh, the government's on my side, right? Right? The medicine's on my side. Everyone wants what's best for me. So yeah, I don't need to look into it. I don't have to question it. Exactly. Everything is set up for me to, and then I started realizing like, hey, our world is designed to create followers, right? And so then followers are just going to go wherever they're led. And so that was kind of the moment where I said, no, I need to figure this out on my own, right? As I figure out everything in my life, I need to figure out religion. I need to figure out what I believe in. I need to figure out what my values are. I need to figure out what kind of parent I want to be, not because somebody else told me one thing or whatever. It's like, what do I really want? What really matters in my life, right? The process was kind of weird because we kind of just, like I said, it was definitely coming. And then it was after a journey that I came home and I talked to my wife about it, and she was like I told you before, we hadn't talked about religion in our 18 years of marriage. We would go to church. We were married in the LDS temple, and we'd never talked about our beliefs. Really? And then when we finally sat down and talked about it, we actually thought very much alike, right? Like, hey, you know what? This isn't working for me. I'm going because of the social aspect. I'm going because my kids are going, but it just really doesn't do it for me. I don't feel anything. I don't feel closer to God, And so we decided to kind of just like hit the reset button and kind of respect each other's journey. So she's been wanting to do some others, like go to different churches. She hasn't done it yet, but like go visit and stuff, and that's cool. I'm supportive. My two teenagers are still going to church, and we support them. It's a little weird, but we support them. Sure. It was. We should have done it a little different, where we sat our kids down and said, "Hey, this is what's happening," rather than like what happens. My daughter, like she saw us at a restaurant. We went to dinner, and my wife ordered a drink, and she was like, "Whoa, what's going on? What is this?" Yeah. And so it kind of freaked her out, and then I took him down to a concert last year, her and my 17-year-old daughter and my 15-year-old son. And in the way there, I said, all right, there's no judgment here. There's no repercussions. Ask and say whatever you want. You're not going to get punished. Like, just talk. So we had a pretty good conversation of her just saying, like, what's going on, right? Like, and then I got to explain to her that we have to come up with our beliefs. And not necessarily come up with them, but we have to decide what we want to believe. Whenever things are forced upon us, it doesn't necessarily go well.
I've seen a lot with people that decide to leave a religion, specifically recently the church, where they've grown up with this for their whole childhood, and it leaves a big, big hole, like in your mind, in your heart, everywhere. And I see that people, in trying to do like self-discovery and things like that, try to fill this hole. And I see it where it can be successful sometimes, and I see it where it can be unsuccessful sometimes. Where do you think you fall?
Like
in that?
Fill in the hole. I mean, there's still a void there for me. Sure. I'm still trying to figure it out. But what I've come up with, through help with some people that I've talked to, and even people that are still active in the church that are very respectful, which I appreciate, is just ultimately, regardless of what religion you're in, you have to decide what values you're going to live by, right? And that is your true religion.
Yes.
Right? Whether you're a Catholic or Muslim or whatever it is, the church has the doctrine, that's set, but you have to choose whatever you want to, if you believe in it, if you have to choose if you believe in love, you have to choose if you believe in anything that they teach, right? So there's not a difference if you don't call yourself something, sure, but you still have values, right?
Yes.
And so I've been defining what those are.
how do you think you get closer to, we could call it yourself in this?
Mm-hmm.
So like normally like in a religion stance, it would be like, my purpose would be to get closer to God,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so in this sense, it's like if we remove God, and I don't believe you've removed God completely.
No.
It's just the idea of like a set religion kind of.
Right.
How do you get closer to what you call your God?
So yeah, that's a really good question, because I've felt that I needed to lately, right? And I think what's been working for me is understanding that it's being closer to a creator, right? Being closer to whoever you believe the creator are. Some people believe that we are the creator, like you are your own creator, right? You created your own reality.
Sure.
And so understanding that, and understanding that, like, to me, my top value, if you will, is love, right? And the goal for me here is to experience and to help others remember whatever it is they need to remember about themselves, right? As I'm remembering, and I say remembering because I've had some revelations, if you will, or discovered some stuff about myself and about where I believe I came from. That brings me closer, like understanding, like, hey, I created this reality for myself, and I have the power to change it, and I chose this. So it's like anything else, right? Like, let's say you're a teenager, you're given a car. Yeah, you love that car, but if you had a choice of the car, you probably love it even more.
Sure.
Right?
Sure, yeah.
So just like that, like I chose this reality. I chose to live it. I chose to everything that's in my life is truly my choice, right?
Okay.
Because I had the choice to turn it away. We all did. Like, I chose to be with my wife. I had the choice at one point to say, no, I'm not going to marry her, or I'm not going to go out with her, right?
Sure.
But I chose that. So
Yeah.
when you start loving those choices that you made, I think it brings you closer.
Did you feel like when you were in the church that it wasn't your choice?
A lot of it. Okay. Yes, a lot of it. I felt like it was just like, oh crap, I didn't choose to have the decision to go to church on Sunday. I have to.
I grew up in this, like, my parents believe this, everything.
So
like that.
if I didn't go to church, I would feel guilty for not going. Right? I feel shame for not going.
Sure.
Or whatever it may be. I mean, like tithing, whatever. I'll and this falls, in my opinion, in my case, it was LDS church, but it was with anything, right?
Yeah. I think it's interesting to see like how many people just do the things that they do because that's what they were told to do. And so you're absolutely right. It's not their choice. And it's like, I think people like that have a hard time finding self-love because, were you at the networking event with Dr. Howland?
I wasn't. I missed
You weren't. It was very good. He was a little bit of he shared it on stage. So he was excommunicated from the church twice and things like that. He wrote a whole book about it. So, and his book is called The Atheist Prayer. Yeah. But I got to ask him a similar question after he spoke, and his whole thesis was like self-love, like, being able to find that self-love. And I think that's actually absolutely genius, of just like, to be able to, feel that, you have to have self-love. And I think also, to be able to get the full extent of a religion, you also have to have that. And it has to be your choice. I think I would say every person around like 25 to 30, somewhere in there, maybe sometimes a little older, goes through this, whether, depending on like how structured they were in the religion, I think is what kind of determines like when they kind of go through it. But like, they go through a period where they're like, what do I believe? And that's when they start to discover like who they are. I think it's such a huge part of self-identity to be able to figure out what you believe, who you are, and just everything that fills in the gap in between.
Well, it becomes your choice. It becomes something that when you decide something, you're invested. When you purchase something, you're invested. When it's just given to you, you're like, it's kind of like the whole theory behind like earning something, right? When it's given to you, you don't value it as much as when you actually earn it. Yes. Same thing. When you decided, you've earned the decision, you've earned the power to decide, and you understand that, you're like, well, then I got to make the best of it, right? Yeah. Now, if you decided to be religious, if you decided to go into a specific religion and you said, this is for me, then great. Now you're fully invested, right? Absolutely. But if it's like, and going back to the whole, like, you don't have the decision, or you didn't make the decision. Yes, to a certain extent. For me, it was, I didn't make the decision. I was given the decision to get baptized when I was 8, and I don't think that's a right.
Sure,
I don't believe an 8-year-old has, my 8-year-olds, my kids at 8 would not have that.
God is good. God is good. Now we thank him for our food. Now you get baptized. Like, you say it a couple times.
But
like,
that
learn some of the stories.
That being said, it's still their decision growing up.
Sure.
Right? Now there's a lot of like social influence and and dynamics there. But ultimately, yes, I had made the choice, but it was one of those things that's like, because I was trusting and I was just like, oh, you know what? It's all done. Set it and forget it. I don't need to worry about that part anymore.
Yeah.
Right. I'll focus on something else. Not knowing that was an intricate part of who I really need to become. I truly need to make that choice. I truly need to believe in the choice I made. I truly need to, I love going back to self-love when you're doing that, because when you're working on loving yourself, then everything that comes with it, every decision that you make, every good and bad result, you're still up for it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've had conversations with people who, when we talk about good and bad, like you just said, like they actually sometimes remove good and bad. Have you done that as well?
I haven't truly. I mean, I'm trying to, right? I'm trying to see just things for what they are and not put a label on it. And it's hard because we live in a world that defines good, that everything is in bad, right?
Yes.
There's goodness in everything. There's goodness in everything, I believe. And when I say goodness, right, again, the world labels it, but I believe there's I don't believe there's anyone out there that means that their original desire was to hurt or to mean ill, right? Now they probably got caught up in their lives and caught up in things that they it becomes a choice that's normal for them. Yeah. I don't know.
There's actually there was a lost book from the Bible. The reason it's lost is that I believe like the Roman Catholics may have took it out of the book, but it was also kind of like discredited in a sense or whatever. But anyways, it was the Book of Mary, and you can quote me on this, but one of the verses in there like describes as like there being no sin.
Cool. I'd be interested in reading that.
Which is very, very interesting based on like the rest of the Bible, where it's like, so you're kind of like judged based off of like your works and things like this. And so, but it's a very interesting like take to have in that sense, because it's like, if there isn't, say there isn't, everybody has like their own realities and they have their own like thoughts on like what the reality is. So it's really just their own reality. Then what they define as good or bad is completely up to them.
It's a matter of perspective. It's truly a matter of perspective, right? We all seen, I mean, that's why there's wars, because both sides think they're right.
Sure. Yeah.
That's why there are arguments, because both sides think it's just a matter of perspective. I told you before we started that this weekend I did a psilocybin journey. And one of the cool things that came about there, I felt a lot of energy from people that are no longer with us. I've heard my grandparents there, my mother-in-law.
Sure.
And I felt my dad, even though my dad's still alive. He's battling cancer. And anyway, the only reason I bring this up is because I had the image that we are all wearing suits in this world. And I'll try to explain it, but we all like what the world defines as good or bad. It's only a suit, because it's not necessarily who we truly are. Like people that excel in sports, that are champions, etc. It's still a suit. Deep inside, that's not who they are. Right? People that are bad, murderers, rapists, it's a suit. That's not who they truly are. I feel deep inside we all really want what's best. We all really want to live a good life. We all really want to be loved and love. And because we don't seek the right tools, or they haven't been presented to us, I don't know.
Yeah,
we have a hard time getting there. Society is definitely structured in a way where, like I said, we're designed for followers, right? And so it takes a lot of courage for people to step outside of that and say, like, hey, who am I really? How do I live my true self?
Yeah. How do you think that like having this perspective has changed the way that you decide to raise your children?
Oh, yeah, it's been great. Like my son, right? Like I was never good at sports, or I never tried. And so I've always like for example, I wanted to be, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a basketball. I wish I would have been in the basketball team. I never tried out. I never played. I never seek coaching or anything. A lot of it, for whatever reason, I didn't think my parents could afford it, blah, blah, blah. But I thought those guys were the coolest, right? And so when my son was old enough to grab a basketball, I started pushing him to play basketball. You know, he didn't love it at the beginning, and then he started liking it. And it was just like, so much so that like he got burned out. He was in ninth grade, played for the high school, and he just got burned out and came and told me I'm done. And it broke my heart, right? And up until recently, he was still like, I would give him like little indirect comments like, hey, are you going to try out again or this? He's flat out, he's completely done with basketball, right? And then I shifted that mentality to like, hey, that is just something you did. It's not who you are.
Yeah.
Right? My kid is like the best friend a kid could have. He's so supportive of his friends. He's very like, he's always in contact with them. He's like, he loves them for who they are. He doesn't like see negative. As a matter of fact, when I comment on something negative about his friends, he'll stand up for them, you know, which I think is huge, right? Not everybody has that courage. And so I started highlighting who I feel who he truly is, and not like who the suit that I wanted him to wear.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's funny because at the beginning of this year, he's like, oh, by the way, I joined a junior jazz team and I'm going to play just for fun. So he's playing basketball, not, I mean, his, whatever he wants to do. Right?
Yeah.
Like he likes the sport. He just didn't like, I don't know, for whatever reason, like when I stopped defining him or using that to define him,
Sure.
I think it changed for him too.
Yeah. I think a lot of parents struggle with that.
Oh, yes.
A lot of parents, like, you know, they want their kid to be something that they weren't, or they want their kid. But then we also go to what we were kind of talking about earlier, which is like what you do directly influences your kids more than what you say. And so I think, like, personally, I believe that all of what you just said is a direct reflection of you as well. And that's like, I think that's just the testament to like the work that you have been putting in and the work that you have been doing about this.
Well, and I'm glad because, you know, I'm glad that they're seeing it. I'm glad that it's not structured, which I like to follow structure. So that kind of, you know, doesn't sit well with me because I don't have a full structure for them. Sure. But that's okay. Like, I think a lot of it, and everything's out of love, right? Like when parents want that, is because they feel that's what's best for their kids. I don't think it's ill intent. Yeah, it just comes out of comes out of a good place. Unfortunately, you know, we don't have nobody comes with a map, nobody comes with an instruction sheet, right? And if it did, it would be so much easier. But like we all have to figure it out. Just like I'm 43 and I'm still figuring this out. And I'll probably be figuring out till the day I die. They will too. You are too. Everyone. We're all in the same boat, right?
I think that was one of the biggest realizations I had when I came out to Utah for a convention and, you know, running into Jimmy or like hearing some other guys on stage speak and stuff. I was just like, oh my gosh. Like nobody has it figured out, you know, like at all. Like nobody knows what they're doing. One person just like maybe has a little bit better understanding than the next, you know, and like we just try to learn from that person. And it's just like it is so mind blowing that you see all these guys, like, you know, whether they're multimillionaires or they've done, you know, 50 Ironmans in 50 states or like, you know, whatever, like every single one of those person is like just still figuring their life out. Like they have no clue what they're doing.
Exactly. And if you talk to, I mean, I had a comment. I reached out to somebody on Instagram. I've been friends with them on Instagram, and it's funny because during my psilocybin journey, they came up and I saw them as a source of light.
Oh, really?
Like they reflect the light that we're all trying to search, like that source, God, creation, whatever. Sure. But they reflect it very well, in my opinion. And I reached out to them on Instagram and I said, hey, dude, I don't have your number, but I just wanted to tell you, you know, that you came up and that I believe that you're a source of light and I appreciate what you're doing. And then his reply was, thanks. Oftentimes I don't think I don't even know what the hell I'm doing, but it's nice to hear it. And it's true, dude. The people, like, you have all these influencers and all this, and it's, everyone puts up a pretty face and look at me, I've got this, but we're all trying. Everyone's trying as much as or as little as we think. We're all trying. I mean, we see, let's take Jimmy, for example. I feel like he's got a lot of shit figured out, but then, you know, the more you interact, you're just like, dude, he's and that is the beautiful thing about it, is that we have the ability to keep trying.
And it's interesting to see him, like, you know, they still go through the cycles of like, you know, they're having a really good month and then like, you know, not a so good month. And like, you know, especially, you know, having the opportunity to live with Jimmy for like, you know, a month or so, like I just saw him do like the same thing every single day. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that was like the difference of like, I was just, you know, kind of like going about my day, doing different things. And Jimmy was just like, same thing every single day. And it was so, so cool to like, just be able to like be around that and, you know, witness like, like maybe he doesn't have his stuff figured out, but he's figured out a path that will get him closer to figuring something out. And he sticks to that path.
Well, and it's a stage of life you're in, because right now you'll figure something out and it works for you. But then you'll realize that 5 years from now, that's not working anymore. And that's where I believe our purpose is. Our purpose is to evolve. And we evolve by experiences.
I heard
experiencing. The more we experience, the more we evolve.
I heard on a podcast recently that it was, maybe believe it, maybe not, but it said that every single person's purpose is to get closer to God. And I think that aligns with what you said, because it's like, how do we evolve, you know? And so I, like, my personal belief is that like by following, you know, this covenant path that I have like truly given all my faith to and everything, that is what brings me closer to that. And I think it's really interesting to see like that other people know that like this certain thing is what brings them closer. And so like people all find their different paths, but it's almost kind of like all the same thing at the end of the day, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. And even in that path, right? Like the idea I feel that we all have to get away from is that there's a destination that we have to reach. It's that path, right? Like once you start falling in love with the path and enjoying the path, right? Like at this point, let's take your girlfriend, let's take your business, let's take religion. That's your path and you fall in love with that. But we are meant to evolve. We are meant to change. We're all here trying to grow. As you grow, some of those things may not fit anymore. And I'm not saying like your girlfriend per se, but maybe the type of relationship you have, and you have to tweak the relationship. I'm not the same person that my wife married, and she's not the same person I married. But that's what it's about, right? It's that evolution, that being able to shift, right, and understand that's okay. That there's nothing wrong with something that worked and it no longer works. Right?
Absolutely.
And being smart enough and courageous enough to say, okay, it doesn't work anymore. I'm moving on, right? Whatever that may be.
I love it. Takashi, thank you. This has been amazing. Thank you, brother. One last question.
What's up?
If you were to go back to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell him?
If I just had one piece of advice to tell him, I would tell him like, remember that you're here to love. Yeah. I felt at one point in my late teens and early 20s, I felt that I was, and I just forgot it. But just like keep that in the front of your mind your whole life. You're here to love.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Hey,
I appreciate it,
man.
Of course.
Sweet.